the right, caught over the middle, and into.
He's at the 45. Are you kidding? Oh, he's going to go. Oh,
Brady gets hit. The ball is out. And Philadelphia has it.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Welcome back to NFL Turf Talk live here on DSM Media's Twitter and YouTube channels. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you head on over to @DSM_media on Twitter. Hit that follow button. We greatly appreciate it. And while you're over on the channel, make sure you check out the link tree in our bio. It'll take you to every social media platform we are available on. If you guys want to be interactive throughout today's show, because we cannot see your comments on the Twitter page, make sure you head on over to the YouTube channel specifically. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video, whatever you got to do. But it's the best place to be interactive with all of our shows here at DSM Media. I am one half of your host, Dylan Davis. You can find me at DylanJD98 on Twitter, as well as my co-host Scotty at Scotty Drown. Victory Monday, my friend. Eagles run through the New York Giants in the Meadowlands, drop 48 on them, right? Improved to 12-1. Lions handle the Vikings. The social media quarterback outduels Tua on Sunday Night Football prime time. Purdy dethrones the GOAT, right? So Dallas escapes the Texans. So there's a lot to get into. I can see your AirPods aren't connected, so I got you for now. Just let me know when you're all good. But yeah, man, happy Victory Monday to everyone who celebrates. 12-1 has never looked so good. 12-1, go Birds. Let's see. Can you hear me? Technical difficulties as always here over at DSM. How are we looking? Well, there goes Scotty. Well, anyway, guys, let's start here with this Eagles-Giants matchup. As I said, Eagles improved to 12-1 on the year. The Giants started off 6-1 on the season. They sit now at 7. Let's see. Where is he in? Can you hear me? Let's see. He's in the background. We'll see what we got. But Giants anyway, collapsing as the season goes down. Yes, no, maybe so.
Yeah, I can hear it. Something's up with my AirPods. So
well, welcome back, my man.
Yeah, my bad, man. As soon as
you're
kicking off the show, I lose sound, and I'm just like, what the hell? And then I take them out, and it still doesn't come out of my MacBook, so I just left and kind of refreshed it. But I'm good, man. Sorry about that at the beginning.
No, you're good.
Nothing but hiccups lately, it feels like. But no, I'm good, man. We had a great day of NFL action yesterday. I didn't appreciate it. I was in Maryland during the Eagles game, and they switched it up on me.
Blacked out. Yeah.
Got a little out of hand, I guess. And,
well, they had to go to the more competitive game, Scotty. That's what happened, right? The NFC East divisional matchup in December. 2 playoff teams.
They had the nerve to not let me see my man Boston Scott get a touchdown.
It was less competitive than the 17.5 point favorites in Arlington. So we'll get into all that. But like I said, let's start here with the Eagles getting to 12-1 on the year with their 48-22 win over the New York Giants. The Giants started off 6-1 on the year. They are now to 7-5-1. They play Washington next week, so that'll definitely be a game to keep your eye on in terms of playoff implications. And if you're an NFC East fan, but man, Scotty, we did the pregame show yesterday. We discussed a lot of stuff defensively, offensively. Jalen Hurts coming off of his probably worst performance in his career versus those Giants last year, throwing 3 interceptions. How does he respond this next time around? AJ Brown, so much went into this game, and I don't even know if I expected it. I told you I thought they'd cover. I told you I thought they'd win by double digits. I told you I thought Jalen Hurts would bounce back. I don't know if I expected that. This team has become so amazing and dynamic to watch week to week because they're just beating you in different facets. One week, they're rushing for 360. The next week, Hurts is throwing for 370 through 3 quarters. Yesterday, he's throwing for 220 and 3 touchdowns, but Sanders is also rushing for 145, right? They can do it in a number of ways. But I'll throw this to you. Before we break down this game, talk about Jalen Hurts and the ins and outs. This team, to me, 2017 was special. 2017 was magical. That team was really good. this team is way more dominant. This team right now today is more dominant than the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts' MVP candidacy today is at a higher level than Carson Wentz's MVP candidacy was back in 2017. They're deeper. I remember blowouts. I remember impressive performances. I remember the Bears game, the Niners game. I remember all of that. I don't remember this. I don't remember losing Dallas Goedert, the focal point of your offense, and then going on to score 42 or 41, 35, 48, 3 consecutive weeks, running down the competition week in and week out. What are your thoughts on this team as they blow out the Giants and hang 48 on them?
They continue to elevate, right? It's not just a week to week thing, but it's a week to week thing as far as getting better each week, right? Not just getting the W, not just going out there and grabbing wins, but going out there and grabbing them in better fashion and playing more complete games, right? Living up to the standard that Jalen Hurts preaches within this team. And he talked about it after the game yesterday. We're not going to make this any bigger than what it is, right? We went out there and smacked the Giants up. That's division rival. Some say, we have some Eagles fans that say it's a bigger rivalry than the Eagles and Cowboys. I don't know if I believe that in a sense.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, I don't, but.
Hey, we went out there and dogged out a division rival. Rivalry games seem to, usually play out a little bit closer, especially if teams are anywhere near the same amount of talent level. This shows you they're not. You saw yesterday, this wasn't even like a Tennessee Titans game where the Eagles come out and score and then the Titans score. No, the Eagles went up 21-0 in this game, and the Giants didn't end up scoring until, a couple things actually fell their way and kept them in a couple drives. But it was just another all-around, well-balanced, dominating game. You talk about balance. It's honestly a good point there in itself, because the last couple wins, right? We've seen Jalen Hurts go over 300 yards passing. We've seen him go over 150 yards rushing in another game. Yesterday, a little bit of both. You had 77 rushing yards. You had over 200 yards passing, 3 touchdowns nonetheless for Jalen Hurts. And I'm just very impressed each and every time this team steps on the field, man. You had Reed Blankenship go down yesterday. Didn't miss a blink. Now, obviously, I'm not high on Kayvon Wallace at all.
Right.
But this team just keeps it chugging. They keep moving forward. They keep progressing. And I'm just, hoping to stay healthy until the end of the season. And when I say stay healthy, these little injuries keep you out a couple weeks. That's fine. Sure. Let's stay as healthy as we can up until we get to the playoffs.
Right. Big picture.
The rest of this regular season. This is big picture at this point. You lock up the playoff spot, right? It's just all around. The Eagles just keep doing things to further prove the point that they're the best team in the NFL. And I think they just keep proving their case further. They just keep elevating, and they're getting better. That's the crazy part. You come out at the beginning of this game, they give you a Miles Sanders touchdown. They give you a Devontae Smith touchdown. Then they give you an 8. It was like just a full flashing of all the weapons that you can find throughout this Eagles offense. And the defense did their thing, right? They came out. We asked, could they come out and shut down Saquon Barkley, make Daniel Jones beat you? They went ahead and did just that. But
9 carries, 28
get deeper
yards.
into the game now.
9 carries, 28 yards. Daniel Jones, 18-27, 170 yards passing, just about 1 passing touchdown. Dude, they were as advertised yesterday. And I honestly, I want to look at this game specifically, but I can't stop lumping it up with the previous two, because I cannot get over the fact of what Nick Sirianni and this offense has been capable of, and Jalen Hurts have been capable of since the Dallas Goedert injury. When it happened, we came on here and we said, you cannot understate, you cannot downplay how big of a loss this is going to be. Name-wise, on paper, is it A.J. Brown missing from your offense? No. But so much revolves around what Dallas Goedert does, whether it's in the run game and his ability to block or pass protect, how much runs through him and how much eyes and attention he takes over the middle of the field, all of that, plus the numbers, right? And then you kind of see what happens the first week without him in Indianapolis. They score 17 points. The offense has no flow. Sirianni kind of just tries to plug and play Jack Stoll, Grant Calcaterra in Goddard's place. It doesn't work. Scotty, 41, 35, and 48 without your focal point. That is absurd. And why? Why are we here? Why are we in this position? Yes, in large part due to Shane Steichen and Nick Sirianni. They have been phenomenal. Do not get me wrong. The quarterback has continued to take a leap. Nobody, I promise you, nobody saw coming. I don't care if you were a hater, a doubter, or the biggest Jalen Hurts supporter and optimist you could ever picture. That optimist could not have seen or foreseen what he is doing right now. Scotty, that deep ball to Devontae Smith on that fourth down play was as picture perfect as it comes. That's the crazy thing to me. He continues to develop as a pocket passer and not leave the pocket. He continues to pick apart zone defenses, and we know what he can do in man with his legs. He continues to protect the football. He's perfect. He doesn't turn the football over, and he continues to improve accuracy-wise down the field. He might throw one of the best deep balls in the game, and that was a question coming in this year. So to me, watching what Jalen Hurts has done the past couple weeks, but yesterday specifically, I can't overstate or understate how I feel about this team at the moment.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. It's almost like you can't at this point. They're 12-1, man. Like we can't even limit it to just one game or like one performance because they're 12-1. They've been dominating the NFL. Like
they're a Quez Watkins fumble away from perfection.
Everything that we've discussed so far has taken place over the entire season, not just the last game. So I mean, it speaks for what the Eagles have done all year. But I'm with you, Jalen Hurts. It's a funny conversation because there was a big argument in a group chat I have with the Dynasty Football League last night that went down, and there's a guy in the chat that kind of he's saying that there's no chance Hurts is MVP this year. It's Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes doesn't have the team that Hurts has. He doesn't have an AJ Brown in his offense.
Okay.
And so
he just has Travis Kelce, right?
The best tight end in football, but no, that's nothing. That's nothing compared to AJ Brown and what he does to an offense. That's what we were told. Basically, it's the reason I bring this up is because it's a clear definition of casual, and the casual person that looks at the numbers and you only catch a few of the games of Hurts, you watch all of Mahomes, you'll probably say Mahomes is an MVP, right? Like he has the passing numbers. Mahomes threw 3 interceptions yesterday. So, like, where does that conversation even come
How many
from?
does Jalen have all year?
He has 3 on the season. Mahomes matched his season total in one game yesterday. And mind you, I'm not trying to discredit Mahomes here. I'm not trying to degrade Mahomes.
No.
But 3 interceptions yesterday keeps the Denver Broncos in that game against Kansas City. You haven't had an instance like that with Jalen Hurts all season.
Not a shot. And Scotty, here's the perfect thing.
That all season.
Here's the reason why you cannot come on this show, and I would love for that person to join the chat at whatever point, because 3 short weeks ago, you and I came on here and said, who was the MVP at that moment? Patrick Mahomes. We weren't being biased. We weren't saying that Jalen Hurts has been the MVP all year long because of what he's done. He has run away with that award over the last 3 weeks. Yeah. It's that simple. He has. Mahomes lost last week. Mahomes threw 3 interceptions and almost lost to Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos yesterday. They won by 6. Could you imagine if Jalen Hurts threw 3 interceptions when his team was up 27-0 and his team only won by 6? In spite of him, what that narrative or what that conversation would be? You basically say it's casual, it's biased, it's a false narrative. It's pushing the narrative that you want. It's the same thing when people look at schedule and head-to-head matchups, right? And we're going to get into that Dallas game in a little bit, right? But remember when Dallas ran up the score in the fourth quarter in Indianapolis? Remember what that narrative was? Because the Eagles only beat them by 1. Well, what happened yesterday? Or what happened when Dallas barely escaped the Giants on Thanksgiving, but what the Eagles did to the Giants yesterday? Like, that's my point. People had their narrative and they try to push it.
Yeah, it's all hypocritical analysis. It's crazy. You see First Take today, they started with Cowboys talk. They start the day. They skip Molly's Giants and they get straight into if the Cowboys deserve the win, but we're just gonna ignore that mollywhopping the Eagles gave the New York Football Giants, they like to call themselves. It is crazy, and I will say another thing about those New York, they're frauds, man. I don't know how they have 7 wins, dog. Like I really don't. That offense is like disgusting. I mean, obviously they've dealt with some injuries and stuff, but
they have a bunch of injuries, especially in the
Eagles
skill
were
position
doing what they
department.
wanted out there.
They're wide receivers. They're depleted. Do not get me wrong. But the fact that they were a 6-1 ball club that people had, top 5 power rankings, and are they for real? And look at the job that Brian Dable is no longer even in the conversation for Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
He was probably running away with that award. He's not even in the freaking conversation. They are bad. They are a very bad football team. They don't look disciplined anymore. They don't look well coached anymore. I get the injuries. I get Saquon's neck, whatever you want to discuss. They are a very bad football team. The same goes for that fraud team up in Seattle. We're not even going to talk about that game, but they lose to the Panthers outright yesterday. So I think you're kind of starting to see the real in teams right now. And the one consistent with all the inconsistency all year, the one solid is the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah. And I brought this up Phil brought it up on the morning show earlier, and I want to get your thoughts on this. So he essentially was talking about how Nick Sirianni and this coaching staff has these guys trained so well in their minds, right, where they never get too high, they never get too low, they're just handling business. But I said it's ironic, right? It's funny how that may be the case, and it seems to be the case with all the leadership this team has and how poised they are. But then you watch that same head coach wear his heart on his sleeve. You watch that same head coach dial up a 4th and long for a touchdown and go screaming his head off running down the sidelines, right? So this team is so well mixed and versed and connected right now. Honestly, like I would love to keep breaking down the game, and whatever you have for me, I'd love to get into it. But there's really nothing I can say. They just keep topping themselves. There's just something new every week. There's no eye-popping numbers from Jalen Hurts. 217 passing yards. He's great. J.J. Brown, 70 receiving yards and a touchdown. Devontae Smith, 64 receiving yards and a touchdown. Miles Sanders had himself a day, but like that's just what they're doing. They're just handling business at this point. Are they not?
Yeah, that's all it comes down to. And I'm with you. There's not too much to discuss with this, right? There was no instances where it got close and the Eagles had to fight for it. It wasn't like that. It was just a dominating win. And, it's getting to the point where we're pounding the table each and every week, but people just aren't going to believe it if they're not going to believe it by now. We'll just keep on moving forward and doing what we have to do. But I did want to shout out A.J. Brown. Obviously, you mentioned him and Miles Sanders both eclipsing 1,000 yards, which is obviously awesome.
And
Miles
both
Sanders, first guy
and them two, along with Jalen, have 10+ touchdowns. It's the first time, I believe, ever or in a very long time that they've all had
AJ, the first one to eclipse 1,000 since Jeremy Maclin. Yeah, it's an historical season for the Eagles, right? Like this is what's happening. They're 12-1. There's guys breaking accolades that haven't been broken in quite a while.
Defensively,
go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say defensively, it's no accolades being broken, but you might be looking at 4 defensive linemen and linebackers with double-digit sacks. I mean, Reddick's already there. Sweat's high up there. BG's at 8.5. Hargrave's at what, 8 or 8.5? Like you're looking at a number of guys that could finish with 10+ sacks this year.
It's crazy, and that was actually one of my points. I'm glad you brought that up because this defensive line looks to be elevating their play right now as well. They're just getting better and better and better.
They're fresh.
Daniel Jones was under fire. Yeah, they're fresh. That's the biggest thing, man. You bring in these extra bodies, especially in the middle, specifically Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh. Even if Jordan Davis doesn't get injured, you need those guys added to this roster. They've made it just made it so much better, right? We lost Robert Quinn, obviously, to IR. And he wasn't doing much anyways. No. But aside from him, every other addition to this defensive line has been monumental as far as success. And like you said, it's about them being fresh. BG getting in 8.5 sacks after he tore his Achilles. That's because you brought in Hassan Reddick. You brought in all these guys to rotate. Milton Williams is out there getting sacks. He's another dog.
Fletcher Cox is up to 6. Fletcher Cox has had a sack in 3 or 4 straight
Everybody
games.
said Fletcher was washed, and mind you, he's not the Fletcher of old.
No,
6 sacks is 6 sacks, man. Right. Like that it is what it is. That defensive line has elevated their play. They're playing great. and it's at the best time of the year for them to be playing that well, which makes me even more excited. How do you feel about the Sipos injury? Obviously, it's just a punter, but
Yeah, man. I saw
he
that
helps
there
us
was
out
a
from time to
report.
time, I suppose.
I saw there was a report that Brent Kern was
Yeah,
flying in
former
to meet with the
punter.
Eagles, former punter, obviously. So you can plug and play punter as
And
long as
Harris as well. Did you
yeah.
see that?
Well, that's a big one. So apparently we got good news on the Reed Blankenship front
Mhm.
that it's not a long-term injury. He could
Thought it was
possibly
an
play this
ACL,
week.
quite honestly.
Yeah,
I
especially in
thought
that turf, the rainy non-contact. It,
the
it
way he
looked
was
pretty bad.
like
Yeah.
grabbing his leg like right at the knee. Yeah,
Yeah.
it freaked me out a little bit, but
But you got good news on that front, but it would never hurt to bring in a body like that, right? A guy that honestly
absolutely.
knows the system as well, even if Van Harris had his issues last year. Abe,
Yeah.
easy dubs, man. It's becoming a regular thing. Like, Abe, let me know, and Scotty, you as well. Like, do you guys share
Yeah.
the sentiment that, like, obviously Christmas Eve is going to be another monster, especially because they have a chance to wrap up the 1 seed at that point.
Yeah.
But aside from that one, man, I just need the playoffs to get here. I'm on cruise control. Can I give you a little teaser right here? They're not losing Sunday.
Yeah.
They're not losing in Chicago.
Yeah,
So 13-1. Here we come. Like it's not. I don't care. I don't care if I sound cocky. I do not care. They are not losing to Justin Fields.
No.
It's not happening. So they're going to be 13-1 heading into Dallas on Christmas Eve. After that, you get the Saints and the Giants again. Man, just get me to the playoffs. They already clinched the spot.
I mean, and there's going to be guys coming back soon. That's the other exciting part of this.
Yes.
We're just trying to get to week,
Goddard
but
next week.
Goddard could be next week. He's because I actually saw him projected in fantasy for next week, which is exciting. He could be back. It'd be great to get him back a game before Dallas, just to get him some run,
just get his
him
feet wet. Yeah,
exactly. Got Avonte Maddox back yesterday. CGJ hopefully back by Dallas, or maybe even
he's going to be a little.
Right?
He's going to be a little further.
But
CGJ I saw is week 18, mind you. Though might not need to play anybody week 18. So CGJ should be playoffs. And probably not before Goddard this week or next week. And then, I mean, you're basically back to normal almost outside of the little Reed Blankenship and the punter issue. But yeah, man, no, it's all positives. It's another victory Sunday.
And you bring in Harris. I liked what you said about knowing the system. I mean, if they decide to bring him in, obviously I would imagine it depends on what shape he's in at this point in the season. But you bring him in. I like him more than Kayvon Wallace, right? As a third safety.
I do too.
Times, like if it comes down to that, like I would rather have him on the roster than Kayvon. So, I'm with it. And once again, bringing in a Pro Bowl punter in for a visit, bringing in Ant Harris, which by all means, Ant Harris isn't some Pro Bowl safety or had some great season recently. Nothing like that, but it's solid, and it shows you how he's just not sitting there twiddling his thumbs, even in this far into the season, going into week 15, and how he is still on the market. It does not matter, and I love it. Since we're talking about free agency signings, T.Y. Hilton to the Cowboys. Did you see that?
I was going to get to that. It's just the icing on the cake. It's the icing on the cake. Like the prize possession, right? The golden boy. They wanted OBJ. OBJ don't even care about playing in the regular season. He don't even see the importance. What are you talking about, dude? No one's paying you to just come off your couch in January to come try to win a Super Bowl, coming off of your second bad ACL injury in 2 or 3 years. Like, what's happening? They don't get him. They have to go for T.Y. Hilton after the catastrophe that took place in Dallas. You know what? Let's get into that. Honestly, we'll talk Eagles throughout the week. We'll talk Eagles next weekend. We got the Bears coming up. There's not much more I could say. Jalen Hurts is your MVP. Nick Sirianni's your coach of the year. Hell, Hallie Rosen's probably your executive of the year. They're looking to lock up the 1 seed. They're the best team in football. They continue to impress. There was no hiccup. There was no offensive line cleaned up. Special teams. I know they had a blocked punt. Outside of that, cleaned up, right? Like there's nothing more I can really harp on until we start to get closer towards that Dallas game. So speaking of Dallas escaping the Texans, man, give me your thoughts on this one. I know that you're watching the Eagles down in Maryland, and then I know it blacked out to the Dallas game, but what happened?
Well, I mean, I actually got to see Dallas in their one of Dak's glory moments, throwing an interception inside his own 20, and just giving the game away to the Houston Texans. Here, Merry Christmas early to the Houston Texans. gives him his second pick of the day, and the Texans could have ultimately ended that game right there if they had any type of competency as a football organization. But no, they get stopped on the goal line at the 1 yard line.
They probably didn't even want to win.
I mean, that play they ran. I mean, they didn't run a play. That was not a ran play. Like,
right.
But no, this was the Cowboys coming out, whether they fell asleep or not. It's funny, man. The conversations are getting hilarious around here because we already know about that 1-point win against Indianapolis and how we got ridiculed for a game that we won. So now you hear all the Dallas fans, it's a win is a win.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
their Pro Bowl corner is begging for the INC to count for him on Twitter, right? Give me a damn break with this team.
I saw that at the end, bro.
You want to listen? They're a damn good football team. Christmas Eve is going to be exciting. If they play in the playoffs, it's going to be exciting, and it's not going to be easy. But give me an effing break. Just again, it's not even them, Scotty. It's the fans.
Yeah,
it is social media. It's Twitter. It's the former players turned analysts that come on and run their mouths. Like you know what? Did you watch the WWE growing up? The WWF?
Yeah,
you were a rock fan? You might know this
Absolutely.
one. Know your role and shut your mouth, right? Jalen Reagor needs to know his role. We'll get to that. We'll get to Jalen Reagor guaranteeing victory against the Lions and then not having any production and losing. But
doesn't have any
Cowboys fans.
Why would
Cowboys
he
fans. Same thing with them. What are we doing here, right? Like the one thing they could point to was the Colts game because of what they did versus what we did. They didn't want to talk about the fact that we beat Green Bay when they lost to Green Bay. Now, not only did they barely squeak by at home, mind you, not in Houston, in Dallas. Not only did they barely squeak by the Texans, the Eagles just ran through the same divisional opponent the Cowboys semi-struggled with on Thanksgiving at home as well. So the narrative, again, we talked Mahomes MVP earlier, right? That argument, that narrative, it's the same thing, man. People don't know when to give it up. They are a damn good football team. And if I was a Cowboys fan, I would be saying the same thing. A win is a win. Just like you and I have for the Eagles all year. The problem is their recent history on social media and on national media discussing how their victory was more dominant than the Eagles against like you made your bed. Now you have to lay with the results, right?
My biggest takeaway from this game, Dylan, it didn't matter if Dallas won that game after Dak threw that second interception. It didn't matter.
No, honestly,
it did not matter
funnier.
to me.
It just would have been funnier, right?
Because Dak Prescott, they were looking at him, this knight in shining armor coming back. That's the difference to beat the Eagles. Yeah. No, Dak Prescott, and I want to bring this up too because it's so funny how Cowboys are portrayed in the media, man. They just like rephrase things like in a certain way to make them sound. Dak Prescott leads the league in passing touchdowns since week 10. What about the rest of the season? What about him leading the league in interceptions since he returned to the roster, to the active starting role? He leads the league in interceptions. He's thrown 8. He threw 2 interceptions against the Houston Texans yesterday. Mind you, these are terrible decisions. And that is the biggest thing when we talk about Jalen Hurts and the Eagles' success. We haven't seen that. So even yesterday, you come out with that W, 9 interceptions in 8 games. That's incredible, man. It's bad decision-making for a guy that's getting paid millions on millions from that Dallas Cowboys organization. And that was my biggest takeaway that coming from that game yesterday. Dak will give you the ball. Dak going against a good defense will give you the ball because that's not a good defense. And he threw he threw 2 interceptions. It's not even just 2 interceptions, but
it's this. What did I say to you? I said that to you. We talked about this last week as well. I said the same thing against the Colts when the game had meaning. It's context. He didn't throw an interception late in the game when they were winning by 27. It was a 3-point game, and he threw a pick in his own territory to give the Colts points. That game could have ended so differently if the Colts don't turn the ball over 3 times in a row, right? Yeah. And just, Abe, some might call it a miscommunication. I call it tanking. I mean, the quarterback goes left, running back goes right. Oh, no, what happened? They didn't want to win the game. They were trying to lose the game the entire time.
Bro, they were like splitting.
Got the one pick locked up.
Between quarterbacks. They had Driscoll out there on one series. Then the next series, it's Davis Mills. I mean, I don't know, man. But I'll ask you this, just regarding this game, and obviously we'll get to like the 49ers.
Yeah.
You look at the NFC as a whole, man. Everybody says Dallas is the team to beat. I would honestly argue that the 49ers, even with Brock Purdy, are the team to beat outside
I
of the
agree.
Eagles and the NFC.
I
Quite
agree.
honestly.
And I want to get to that. Let's hop into that game in 2 seconds, right? The last thing I want to bring up, you mentioned Dak coming back from injury. That would be their saving grace because they stayed afloat under
That's
Cooper
what they
Rush,
told us.
right? But the crazy thing is, I understood that argument because heading into the year, while the Eagles roster might have seemed better than Dallas's, what was the one thing? Dallas has the quarterback.
That was where they had
that's not a question anymore. Scotty, you say all the time, there's levels to this game, right? Those two QBs are on completely different levels at the moment. I don't care how many points Dallas's offense is scoring since Dak came back. How many touchdown passes he's thrown. You met what like the Eagles now, like remember after the Colts game, the point differential, the net rating, how much the Cowboys had to lead because of their blowout. The Eagles have a better net rating now. Do you know what that means? They're scoring more and holding teams to less than the Cowboys. Like, I don't know what to tell you. What's up?
And they lost their starting tackle, Terrence Steele, for the entire season.
Which is not it. That's a shame. But like again, like you wouldn't know it because they still say that they're that great, right? Last thing, I got to be a little hush hush on this one because he's right upstairs. But as you know, others may not. My stepfather is a Cowboys fan. I know it pains me. Violation or not? I know it's not, but I'm joking. But had to go out Christmas shopping today. Got him 2 Cowboy framed pictures. Violation or not a violation?
No,
it pained me. I had to purchase. First
of
all, I had to spend money. On this, I had to do this in public for other people to see. It pained me, man.
Public is the only thing for me. You're wearing your Eagles hat and you're grabbing 2 Cowboys pictures.
Yeah, I know.
That's the only thing.
And then I got to tell everybody, oh, it's not for me. It's not for me.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only harsh part for me right there, Dylan. But
they're pretty cool. I'll send him a picture of you later. They're pretty cool.
By the way, no sacks for the Cowboys defense yesterday either.
Oh, did you know that stat as well? The Eagles now have more sacks on the year than the Cowboys. Did you know that? Because apparently to certain analysts, the Eagles need more sacks, and apparently to others, the Cowboys' defensive front is the best in the league. But that number tells a different story anyway. I'll be with
my
them
dad's
as well
a
on Christmas
Cowboys
Eve.
fan, but that's funny, man. I didn't even think of that. Like my dad is a Cowboys fan too. So
yeah, man, it's rough. It's rough here, but it'll be a good time. Someone's Christmas might be a little ruined.
We just like rebels. No, I mean, obviously we live in the area. But
no, they're the outsiders.
They're the outsiders, right? I was just kind of following the lead of the city around.
You went the right way. You went the right way.
Right. How did he get up there?
Let's get into that game you just mentioned. First of all, if an ad pops up in my ear one more time, I'm going to lose it. Okay. Every time I switch to a different tab on ESPN. Anywho, Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers dethrone, and not just defeat, not dethrone. They absolutely give it to the GOAT and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it's honestly, it's pretty funny, man. Like you and I, we tried to have hope. We tried to say that there was a step in the right direction. Down 16-3, vintage Tom. They're back on point. My God, they are a dumpster fire. He's got his own issues. He's throwing interceptions. He hurt his hand. They can't score until late in the third quarter. Meanwhile, Brock Purdy's over here, 16 of 21. He don't even have to play late in the fourth quarter because Josh Johnson gets to come in. 93 QBR, 134 rating. Christian McCaffrey going off. They lost Deebo Samuel in the first half of this game. It might have been third quarter. I forget, but that's something we'll talk about in a second as well because that might be a bigger blow than Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo for the 49ers as well. But, man, talk to me about what this is. And I get your point, right? Everybody talks about Dallas and the Eagles. This team, we started to count them out because the Jimmy Garoppolo issue. And I'm not ready to just revive them and say they're back. Yeah. But I got questions. Is Brock Purdy good? Okay. Like when I heard of Brock Purdy, because I didn't, they call him Mr. Irrelevant. He was irrelevant to me. I did not know he existed on the face of this earth. Right. When I heard him come in for Jimmy Garoppolo, I laughed. Like, your season's over, your season's cooked. Scotty, you look pretty good. against whether that offense for Tampa Bay has flaws, that defense is supposed to be pretty good for Tampa, is it not?
And look, the thing about this, man, and I thought you were gonna say it for a second because that's why I like kind of listened in. If you were really gonna say it, the offense, and I'm gonna say this carefully because I was gonna say the QB position looks better. The offense
looks better
with Brock Purdy in it. It looked better last week.
This is my question. This is my question right here. Sustainable. I don't know.
Is it my only thing? The only thing that makes me lean the other way that it may be is because it seems like Kyle Shanahan is leaning into CMC and Debo, who were there before, right? Debo, Kittle. He's leaning into his stars more.
Oh,
and it's weird to me. With Jimmy G, that it wasn't like a focus to get CMC, to get Debo. Now maybe it's Elijah Mitchell going down. Maybe now it's all CMC's work. Maybe that's
but again, that's a knock on Kyle Shanahan. It should.
Yeah.
Elijah Mitchell, are you joking?
Yeah, I'm with you. So
my fantasy team thanks you, but
that's what makes me think. But at the same time, you need to see them have to go back and forth, right? It's easy when you go up 14-0 and then all of a sudden your defense is getting every single stop. You're getting turnovers. You got to see them go back and forth with a team that can actually score on them. That's the other side. Their defense is just ridiculously good. Now, with that being said, I know it was a really good win. Their defense dominated. Bucks, they had some opportunities mixed in there. If you watch the beginning of that
68-yard touchdown called back. Yeah.
Yeah, 68-yard touchdown.
Difference maker.
Few misses from Tom Brady that were just like, it makes you question, like, is it time to hang it up? I hate to say that. But, like, is it time to hang it up, man? Because, like, you have him on the sidelines arguing with Mike Evans. That's your best wide receiver. And you're getting in an argument. Like, what are we talking about here? Because you're the one missing the throws. So, like, that's when this, kind of gets rocky, man. And you got to start asking these questions. Do you think the Bucs are actually going to make the playoffs? Like, are they going to be able to survive?
Can I answer your question with that question?
Yeah.
That should tell you all you need to know. You asked me if it's time for him to hang it up.
Yeah,
and while I've seen flashes here and there this year where he still looks like he might got it, they win 3 of 4 post-divorce. I understand. Scotty, in a division that doesn't have a team under them better than 5-8, they have a 1-game lead for that division.
Right.
So this division under Tampa Bay is 5-8. 5-8 Carolina, who sold their team, fired their head coach, fired their offensive coordinator, traded Christian McCaffrey, having a fire sale, right? That team's 5-8 right below you. Marcus Mariota, no Kyle Pitts anymore. Marcus Mariota and the Atlanta Falcons, 5-8. We're sitting here as Eagles fans looking at the Saints as a top 5 draft pick. The Saints are 4-9 with a chance to compete for their division over 4 weeks.
Bro.
That tells you all you need to know. Those are the 3 records below him, and they are at risk of not winning the division.
Look at it this way. If the Bucs, who play Cincinnati Bengals next week, if they lose, they're going to lose. The Panthers play the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mind you, that's not they're going to knock that down and win it. They can win. They're favored in the game by 2.5 points as of right now. So you look at that. Just by next week, the Bucs could be out of the playoff scenario, out of the playoff picture right there. Now, doesn't mean they can't hop back in. The very next week, the Panthers would play the Lions, so on and so forth. You'll see how it plays out. But this is what we're looking at. They're going to be playing in like week 18, week 19, or I can't remember what the extra game, if there's like a week.
18.
Yeah, week 18, excuse me. Week 18, you're going to be playing, and Tom Brady's going to still be on the field trying to fight for a playoff spot. That's just insane,
absurd,
right?
Absurd. And I agree with Abe here. And it's not a knock on him. This is not a ha-ha moment. Anybody that can't understand.
That's a great point.
Anybody that can't understand greatness or appreciate greatness, I know we played him in the Super Bowl. We want to chant F Tom Brady. Brady sucks. I get all that. Yeah. We all recognize he's the greatest of all time. Like probably in all of sports. Like he is the GOAT of GOATs.
I think that's fair.
It's not a knock on him. But you essentially got to a point at this age, and he was still competing for championships last year. So, but at a point, you're seeing how much fuel, how much oil is left in the tank, right? Yeah. And you might be out of it. I don't know. We're going to find out in the last couple of weeks here. But that loss, Scotty, we were looking to see if they could be competitive in San Fran.
Yeah.
Dude, they got their doors blown off. Now, I want to take it back to the San Fran side, though, because they already lost Jimmy G. We thought that might be a knock on them. They might slide down now. Now, We don't know any long-term answers. They said it was an ankle sprain, high ankle sprain, not an ACL, not a knee, not anything like that. We don't know for sure yet. Deebo Samuel carted off, looked really bad. He was crying in the cart. That's never a good sign. That to me, now I'm not hoping for it as an Eagles fan, obviously, but what I'm saying is that to me does knock them down in terms of roadblock for the Eagles. I know you could focus more on Christian McCaffrey. I know how talented it is, how much he does, not only running the ball, but as a pass catcher as well, how explosive he is. There's a reason, running back and Christian McCaffrey wasn't leading the Panthers to playoff runs, because they don't have that effect. You lose Deebo from this offense, I don't care. You can give McCaffrey the ball 55 times. That offense isn't going to be able to run you over. Bro. So losing Deebo is a big one for them if he's out long term.
I agree, because during the game, the coverage, they did a great job of actually talking about this point, but putting Deebo and CMC on the field at the same time is just ridiculous to think about what are they actually about to run.
With Kittle and Ayuk.
You can line CMC out as a wideout or in the slot, and you can put Deebo in the backfield and make them put
both of them in the backfield.
You can put both of them in the backfield. You can put them both out wide. There's just so many things, so many variations to what you can run when you have a Swiss Army knife like Deebo Samuel. And look at it this way, man. It's arguable. I'm not saying that this year and AJ's been better. Take AJ Brown out of this offense for the Eagles, man. Knock on wood, right? Knock on wood. Take AJ Brown out of this offense and look what happens, man. It's the same thing with Deebo Samuel, in my opinion. It may even be further ingrained into their system
because what he does.
He's so important, what he's able to do from the rushing and receiving standpoint. It's detrimental. It's good news nonetheless, because like you said, it looked like, I don't know. Yeah. He had both of his legs get tangled up in there. Yeah. The ankle got bent
You
back.
didn't know if it was the knee, the ankle, the foot,
it was
all three.
And I like Deebo. I think you do too. We like the sentiment, kind of the way he plays. He's a dog, right? He plays tough, and never want to see that. But that is huge. Is it 2 weeks? Is it 3 weeks? Is it 4? How long does he? Because these high ankle sprains can last. They can last. They can linger.
Exactly. And what is he when he comes back as well? That'll be a factor too.
Yeah.
To me, if these two teams, meaning the Eagles and the 49ers, were to match up, let's say in an NFC Championship game, this offense versus that defense would be just an awesome thing to watch. You're not talking about two quarterbacks gunslinging it out. You're not talking about two bad defenses playing. You're talking about the best offense in football versus the number one defense in football. And the Eagles are number 2 in defense. They're not far behind.
Yeah.
And the Eagles do things differently than San Fran. They create more takeaways, right? The sack numbers are right around. But San Fran, there's just as many playmakers as the Eagles defense have. I feel like there's a little bit more juice to that San Fran defense. A little bit more. I don't know. It's weird. I don't want to take a knock at us, but
no. Yeah, it's not. I think it's something we could get into before we get into the playoffs. I feel. I think it's a good topic because you look at both of these defenses, but the style is just completely different.
Yep.
Like DeMeco Ryans has that San Fran defense. It's like it's
an
just
attacking
in your mouth, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Gannon is just more. I don't know. Is it more precision?
It's like hunting. Like we're hiding in the weeds, right? We're waiting for you to make it, and then someone CGJ pops for a pick, or we get 2 big sacks late in the game. They from the first whistle are in your mouth, in your mitt, dude. So I do like that point by you. But it'll be interesting nonetheless, man. Moving on to another game that had pretty big playoff implications and seeding implications. Thank you, Detroit Lions, helping out the Eagles 1 seed versus the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings get their ass handed to them in Detroit, 34-23. Kirk Cousins, I mean, I don't even know what to say about this game. 31 of 41. 425 yards, no interceptions. I mean, they couldn't run the ball. Dalvin Cook averaged 1.5 yards on the ground. Justin Jefferson went for 223. Like, I really don't know what to say outside of the fact that they couldn't stop Jared Goff in this offense. There's not much else to really look at. And the big playability was there from Detroit from the opening jump. And once again, here I am saying, know your role and shut your mouth. Jalen Reagor telling reporters that he guarantees victory this week. My man saw 1 target, no catches, doesn't even really
Where
get
does
on
he
the
go?
field. If you are a non-productive player, listen, I brought this up earlier, but it stirs up a lot of bad emotions in me because if you're a person that sends direct messages to a player because he plays poorly or he's not good, you're a POS, right? Like I'm not talking about that. You don't call anybody by his name. But you wonder why the dude was hated here or disliked here.
Yeah.
Because it's not just a lack of production. It's not his fault he was taking a first round pick when Howie shouldn't have taken him. It's just the fact that if you are non-productive, not only non-productive, in many ways here you were a negative, but you have this attitude about you. You have this outspokenness, this social media presence, and these cryptic messages to people. And now you want to guarantee victory, but you have no influence on the outcome of the game. I say one more time, shut your mouth. That bothers me, man. That would be like Kayvon Wallace. Like CGJ doesn't get hurt, Scotty, and Kayvon Wallace is the third string safety, and he's guaranteeing victory. Shut up.
Boston Scott comes out before the Giants game, like, we about to rock.
At least he scored.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing, man. Like, Jalen Reagor has 87 receiving yards on the season. He has 6 receptions on the season.
Joke.
Like,
Absolute
I don't need to hear
joke.
from him before a big matchup against a rival, right, against the Detroit Lions.
And now you look at this Lions team, who has a chance to make the playoffs.
They absolutely do. And you look at this game, the difference, honestly, was the turnovers. The Vikings had 2 fumbles in this game. But both offenses, really went out there and put on a show, to say the least. Jared Goff, you're talking about a guy that, could be looked at as one of those comeback player of the year. I don't know how you would phrase it, but he
won me my fantasy matchup to make the playoffs this year.
Right? He's playing some really good football. The Lions are playing some really good football. We were talking about Dan Campbell earlier this year. He's getting this team right? He's earning his stripes. He's getting the right to – you're starting to see the material of what you did like of him from the outside. He's very much in high grace, I feel, especially after Hard Knocks. You get to see that side of him. There was a lot of people that kind of fell in love with Dan Campbell in this Lions team, and now you're starting to see it come into fruition. You get Jamison Williams back in this game. He's immediately implemented, gets a touchdown score in his first game in the NFL. They're a well-rounded team offensively, especially. They can run the football. They got a nice plethora of backs, and they have the weapons now, pure speed on the outside, Jamison and DJ Chark. Not even to mention Amon Ra, right? So these guys are playing some really good football. The defense is playing better.
That's it right there. That's the biggest difference. It's not even just better. Like the defense is no longer a disaster. They are no longer by far the worst defense in the league. You can go back once this winning streak started against Green Bay. They've given up 130-point performance, but that was a win against the Bears. They gave up 28 against the Bills on Thanksgiving in a game they almost won. In other games, they gave up 9, 18, 14, and 23 yesterday, all in wins. The offense has been there all year in an odd way. Like I know Swift is a playmaker. You mentioned Amon-Ra St. Brown. You have DJ Chark. They traded TJ Hawkinson, right? Jared Goff, everyone has their questions about Jared Goff. Hell, he might not even be back next year. But for whatever reason, this team can average, it feels like 30 points. So as long as the defense wasn't a complete detriment to them, they're finding ways to win games now. And it's crazy because when you look at the playoff picture in the NFC for that 7 seed, which is ultimately going to come down to the Giants, frauds, Seahawks, frauds, Washington could be a 6 seed potentially. Yeah. The Lions have a pretty good shot, I would say, to win the division. I mean, to win that 7th wild card.
Yeah, I would say they have a good shot. They've won 5 out of the last 6. They basically have a playoff game this weekend against the New York Jets. Yeah, Abe, I saw your comment there. The Boston Scott, he finally laid that down. I was so happy about that anytime touchdown. Plus 1,200, man. But nonetheless, no. Getting back to the Lions, won 5 of their last 6. We've kind of. I feel like we've kind of been rooting for them in this. I know I've kind of been rooting. I don't want to speak for you. I've kind of been rooting for them throughout this season. And you look at the rest of those teams, like you mentioned, Seattle, New York. Why do I think that they would finish out the season strong and finish it out better than what the Lions are?
And New York plays Washington this week.
The way they're playing right now. Yeah, New York Giants play Washington, so they'll kind of eliminate themselves, right? Which I would pick Washington to win that game.
Today,
just based on what we know now. But Detroit absolutely has a chance there, man. But they play the New York Jets this week, and that's basically a playoff game for both of these teams. I think the Jets are 7-6 now. Detroit's 6-7. So you kind of shift things. If the Jets win, they'll get up into the 7th seed in the AFC standings. Same thing with the Lions. If they can get the W, they could see themselves at the 7th seed by next week. So it's exciting for Detroit. There's some excitement because they're young. They're still
Lions
young.
are roaring, baby.
But
Lions are roaring.
They are. They're roaring.
I agree with you, man.
Anymore. They're growing up.
I agree with you, man. And it also makes week 1 look a little bit better for the Eagles as well. Some other notes before we get into the final game. Obviously we didn't get a chance to discuss it on Sunday. We just did the pregame show, but Baker Mayfield and the Rams have a 92 or 98 yard fourth quarter, final 2-minute drill to beat the Raiders.
Man.
Their playoff hopes are done. Craziness. The Bengals and Joe Shiesty find another win.
I just wanted to say about the Raiders because
I
did a strong segment on the Raiders on Thursday night to try to give their fans a little bit of hope, man. And they
see what you get for being nice.
So far down,
see what you get for being nice. Honestly, just a kick in the ass.
Not that I believed in it fully, but like
well, you had some hope for them. I feel you.
Yeah.
Also, the Tennessee Titans, I don't know what's happening there. I really don't. They've now lost 3 straight after winning 7 of 8 after their 0-2 start. They've lost to the Bengals, the Eagles, and now they lose to Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence, and the Jaguars 36-22 at home. That's a very bad loss for them, especially heading into the final month of the season. But we wrap things up here with Sunday Night Football, Scotty. And honestly, Chargers 23-17 win over the Miami Dolphins. It's a bad day to be Emmanuel Acho, if you ask me. And honestly, we look at this quarterback matchup, and here's what I witnessed last night. I looked at one guy like he was motivated, like he wanted the moment, like he heard the noise, and he came out and shined. And I look at another guy for the second straight week where it looks like pressure burst pipes. Like the moment's too big. This isn't a 1-game sample. Tua was really bad against San Fran, albeit that was the San Francisco 49ers defense. This performance by Tua Tagovailoa is worse than last week's performance against San Francisco. 10 of 28, 145 passing yards, a 24.7 QBR, a 65 rating. Scotty, the moment, just tell me if I'm wrong here, the moment looked too big. That accuracy, gone. The deep ball, gone. I'm not saying this is a trend, but honestly, the Dolphins look fraudulent. They're now 8-5. They were a team that was undefeated with Tua when he started and finished games. This offense was dynamic. Hill and Waddle, and Hill was a big time again last night. But Mike McDaniel, like, so much going for them. You're 8-5. You're honestly starting to get pushed out of the playoff spot at this point. I'm not saying they're going to, but now you're fighting for a 7 seed right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, you could, when you're reading to a stat, you could have stopped at 10 for 28. You didn't need to read any further, man. That describes it. That was the night that Tua had. And you talk about accuracy, that right there, 10 completions out of 30 attempts, basically 1 for 3 on each completion.
While the other dude was 39 of 51.
Yeah, so I mean, this is just not good performance from Tua, right? You had several opportunities in this game. You only lose by 6, and you come into the game and you say, oh, the Chargers only scored 23. Dolphins have a good chance of winning that game, in my opinion. But on the other side of it, not only Tua's kind of dysfunction or malfunction there the last 2 weeks, the defense, man, that defense is horrid. Justin Herbert. Now, mind you, this could be a lot of Justin Herbert like finally getting healthy, getting Keenan Allen, Mike Williams both back, all of his options. Eckler had a good night last night. But also, the Dolphins allowed Brock Purdy to do very similar things to them the week before. They were getting the ball ran down their throat. Like, it's a detractor, right? That's something I'm worried about for the Miami Dolphins. Tua, do I think he's going to go 10 for 28 week in, week out? No, I think he's going to get better. I think he may get close. Will he go back to that MVP status? I don't know. Will he go at least further up towards the middle of the pack, maybe a little bit above that? Yes, he's an above average good quarterback, even with these last 2 weeks. But the defense, how do you fix what happened last night? Because the Chargers left a lot of meat on the bone, quite honestly. They could have
Oh, I
blown the
agree.
doors off this Miami
I agree.
team, and the 49ers did.
They had a 4th down stop on the 2-yard line. I agree with you, but to me, I watch this game and this one falls on the shoulders of Tua for me.
I'm not.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah,
I know.
I'm with you.
I know.
I'm with you on that.
The defense, especially against Brock Purdy, was really
Just
bad.
like, what's more of a chance of bouncing back, Tua or that? I think Tua has a better chance of bouncing back than that.
Oh
defense.
yeah, no, I agree. But when I watched this one, man, and I got questions as well. Jalen Waddle, where you been?
Usage. Yeah.
Last week, I understand you got hurt. You have 1 catch for 7 yards. Last night, 2 catches, 31 yards. And Scotty, honestly, you look around, Gesicki's not a factor. Jeff Wilson gets carted off last night. You have Raheem Mostert, I know that. Trent Sherfield, Cedric Wilson Jr. If I look at this team, and I'm just starting to think, I'm not saying it's going to come through, but if both of those, if that 1-2 punch isn't exploding on both sides, this offense may have limitations.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It's
because Tyreek Hill had numbers last week. Tyreek Hill, obviously, one was a fumble touchdown, which was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. But then you had the deep ball, even on a hurt ankle. He had over 80 yards. Tyreek Hill showed up even injured. If both aren't going, they don't have a ton of weapons offensively, even though they were a high flying offense.
Yeah. No, I feel you. They've got some red flags right now, I would say, man. They've ran into
and I feel like you're right.
Competition right now.
I feel like you're right, and that's an indictment on them as well, man. So, anyway, that was just my little Dolphins rant. Again, I also need the money line with Tyreek Hill touchdown. So maybe that's all I am. I'm just pissed off at them. Who knows? I'm bitter. But to wrap this show up, Scotty, predictions on tonight's game. I have no interest in discussing this one, if I'm being frank with you. The New England Patriots take on the Arizona Cardinals. We'll obviously give away a best bet, but who do you like in this game?
It's a big game, believe it or not, man. For the Patriots, I would say.
Yeah.
You look at
Playoffs.
this. You look at this matchup. Arizona, they've lost 4 of their last 5. New England's lost 2 straight themselves. So you're looking at both of these teams like who's going to get it together sooner. Obviously, the Patriots, if they win tonight, they're able to jump right back up into that 7 seed and put themselves in the playoff picture. And then the other thing to look at here, man, on Arizona's side, obviously they've got their full plethora of weapons tonight with D-Hop, Hollywood. You got James Conner finally fully healthy, and then of course Kyler Murray's out there. No Zach Ertz, obviously, he tore his ACL, but you have a good amount of your weapons there if you're Arizona, which hasn't been the case a lot of this season. Is Cliff Kingsbury, he's got to be on the hot seat, right? Like, he's got to be out the door. Like, how many of these coaches are out the door? Because I feel like we say a new name almost every week, but how long has it been with this Kyler Murray relationship? One, it's been rocky as hell anyway.
It seems broken. It seems fractured a little bit. There's constantly comments being made publicly or through social media, and kind of cryptic subliminal messages as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a direct shot, but you know where Kyler's aiming.
Yeah.
Kyler's getting aimed at by former Cardinal players on social media and podcasts. Like,
Interesting, man.
it's weird over down in the desert. Abe saying he won't doubt Bill tonight.
It's an interesting
He's got
man.
tonight.
Because you asked for my prediction. I'm actually leaning the other way tonight, man. I don't know. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm falling against the tide, and I'm not seeing what Abe's seeing there with Bill Belichick. But I'm looking at that New England offense, man, and it's just I think about it every time before we go into the game, and I'm just like, what are they gonna do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what are they gonna do?
And being in Arizona,
what are they gonna really do in this game, man?
Yeah. Being in Arizona is a difference maker for me as well. If Kyler had to go up to Foxborough in December, I would give Mac Jones and company and that offense a little bit more credit. I do agree with you. It's weird, but I have seen Mac Jones tear up in Minnesota on Thanksgiving night, so I really don't know.
It's not impossible.
Here's why I tell you I'm leaning your way instead of Abe's tonight. I think this week we've had so many discussions on this show about those fringe playoff teams, those 7-5 teams, those 6-6 teams, who's frauds and who's not.
Yeah.
We're learning things about the Giants. We're learning things about Seattle. We're learning things about all these teams, and I view New England in the same sense. I know the defense, I know the culture, I know the head coach. That offense stinks. That offense lacks talent. And when I'm looking across the sideline at a mobile quarterback in Kyler Murray, who has Pro Bowl talent, DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown, James Conner healthy in the desert, I am leaning the Cardinals at least plus the 2 tonight. Real quick to throw this in there. 6 minutes ago from Adam Schefter, Deebo Samuel suffered a sprained MCL and ankle, but is expected to return during the regular season.
Interesting. Well, that's great news then for San Fran. That's great news.
And yes, the Eagles did host Ann Harris and Brent Kern on free agent visits today. But I do agree with you, man. I do have the Cardinals in this one. It's going to be tricky. I do have a free bet that I've placed. It's a little. Let me know what you think about this. All right. Yeah. So I do have the Cardinals plus 2. I have a James Conner anytime touchdown, which one of those is my best bet, whatever way you want to lie. But I have James Conner or Cardinals plus 2 as my best bet. DeAndre Hopkins 50+ receiving yards. Marquise Brown 50+ receiving yards, and James Conner 25+ rushing yards plus 600.
I actually like that, man. I like that. I actually got a couple single plays. I have one parlay that I've laid. I haven't laid anything yet, but I'm gonna lay it.
Yeah.
So I was thinking I'm kind of on the same lines as you as far as best bet tonight. So that I went Arizona money line with mine.
Okay.
I do think they're going to win this game, and I think this is a good opportunity for Arizona to showcase, right? You look at Kyler Murray and you look at D-Hop, you look at Hollywood Brown, showcase at your full strength what this offense can really do. Even if you're playing for nothing right now, you still want to showcase that if you want to stay on this team and keep these things going, right? But looking at Arizona, I have their money line. That's at plus 115 the last time I looked at it. A few other individual plays that I'm looking at laying here. I don't know. I'm not going to parlay them or anything like that. They might just really stay individual. But I'm looking at Hollywood over 5.5 receptions. That's at plus 120.
Okay.
I was looking at D-Hop, so I'm deciding between one or the other. I was looking
his
at
6.5 or 7.5?
6.5 at minus 105.
Okay.
So I was deciding between those two. I like both of them, but I think only one of them will hit.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one that I like is actually Stevenson over 5.5 receptions. He's had over 6 receptions in the last 5 of 6 games. So
he does see the ball a decent amount. Yeah.
A lot of passes to the running back with Mac Jones, a lot of dump offs. My parlay of the night, I guess you could call it, Arizona money line, D-Hop touchdown. That comes out to plus 257.
Oh.
So I actually like that one. I like D-Hop in this game a lot. So with that, I may go and lay the 6.5 receptions for D-Hop as well. Just ride the D-Hop wave tonight.
Busy night for you, man. I like it. I like it a lot.
I'm not doing all of those, man. It's going to be the parlay.
He's not.
Lay money line by itself, and then I'll do one of those single plays. But nah, man. I'm going to get into some NBA tonight. Not doing too much.
We know Boston Scott hit for you yesterday. We know where that money's going back to tonight. DraftKings is over listening to us. DraftKings is listening to us too, going, yes. Cha-ching, all they see is dollar signs, right? No, but guys, if you don't know already, Scotty and I on every pregame show, on every Turf Talk, we do like to give out a best bet for the games that we are analyzing and breaking down. And the trend's going up, man. We seem to be doing okay. Sixers are doing okay. AJ Brown scored yesterday. That was a best bet. So we got the trends going up. So stay tuned for the best bets. Abe saying take the Stevenson over in rushing yards and an anytime touchdown score. He's not the first person to say Stevenson anytime touchdown. George Ryder's on that tonight as well. So maybe that's a play for you guys as well.
About the over though, man. At 80 plus yards. Think so.
Is that what it is?
Maybe I'm wrong.
I didn't think it was that high, but anyway, why Scotty looks for that, guys, don't forget to check us out on Twitter at DSM_media. Hit that follow button. Linktree in the bio to take you to every platform we are available on: TikTok, IG, Facebook, YouTube specifically. We're on the road to 700. So make sure you check the YouTube channel out. You can find every show, every short over on that channel. Hit the subscribe button, like the videos, whatever you got to do. We greatly appreciate it. It's the best spot to get interactive with each of the shows. For myself, you can find me on Twitter at DylanJD98. You can find Scotty at Scotty Adriana. Don't forget to check both of our great sponsors out at shopluxinen.com. Use promo code DSM for 25% off. And also our friends over at Gents Barber Lounge, gentsbarberlounge.com to book your appointment today in Fishtown or Old City. What is that line at?
That line is at over or under 79.5.
Oh, okay. It is 80.
Minus
That's interesting,
115.
man. All right, Abe riding with Ramondre tonight. Scotty going with the Cardinals. I'm on the Cardinals as well. For myself, for Scotty, for DSM Media, have a great rest of your night.
Go Birds.
One-on-one.
Love it.